It is not a overriding factor that it has to be like, from within the services or from within certain backgrounds. Defense officers, like, Air Force officer and Army officer, like, marrying women, Indian, foreign service officers. In most of the cases, what we have seen, yes, the marriage happens within the service, or marriage happens with, like, kind of a professional, like, he may be an engineer, he may be a doctor, or like he may be any other professional.
Girls who want to become IFS, who want to enter into Indian Foreign Service or want to become an IFS officer, how difficult it is for them to get spouse, because that is the fear. Many of the parents come and talk to me when they want to put their first choice. For girl students, they ask whether IFS, then what will be the spouse? Now, this is one question. Now, how IFS lady officers manage?
You know better, Israel. I think in our own batch, I think among a group of 16 foreign service officers, one is a couple, where like, they married. So now, thankfully, I believe the the intake in foreign service is also much larger. At one point of time in 2003, I think there were only 9 officers who were taken in foreign service. In our batch, I think it was 16. So, I mean, and again, the number of lady officers coming in was also slightly less at one point of time. But now, thankfully, a lot of, lady candidates who are appearing for UPSC are giving their option for foreign service. As you said, like many of the top rankers are also giving foreign service as the number one option. And marriage, perhaps, like, for people coming from a small town, from traditional backgrounds and all, still they do kind of look at it as a major issue when looking at a career option. But now with the larger intake and with greater mobility, it is not like the world 10 years back and or even 5 years back. Now, anybody wants to go, they travel just like that. And traveling and working abroad is now not limited to diplomatic missions. You work in an IT company, you may be required to travel to US either on a semi-permanent posting or permanent posting, and you have to live with that. Your family, again, whatever you need, the arrangement, the same arrangement goes here. Only thing, better thing is here, you have a very good support system that is provided by the government. With private sector companies and all, you do not know. But here, any officer who is sent out to the government's duty outside is given a very comfortable support system, and that, of course, as I said, is extended to the dependent members of the family also. And as I said, like with these increasing opportunities for gainful employment of spouses abroad, whether it is a male spouse or a female spouse, it doesn't really matter. They are provided equal opportunities. So my advice to women officers, aspiring candidates, women candidates, would be that they need not have any apprehensions. Certainly, they have to be ready to constantly move, like, work from abroad, get used to certain things. These are minimum norms. You cannot, expect a life like, you expect in India, same city, same state throughout your career. No, that is no way possible in this service. You have to be ready. When I say you have to be ready, either your family moves with you, or like there is an arrangement that is put in place where, like, both the family members, even if they are living in different places, they tend to carry on just like that. There are practical arrangements that have been put in place, and it is increasing all the time. And what I have seen in this 16 years of service is also there are lots of successful couples within IFS also, within the Indian Foreign Service also. Instead of asking perhaps like somebody who has not really had that kind of experience, I think it will help if a woman lady officer who has come through recently, and who has had kind of personal experience to share, because her words will have more of conviction than mine. I can say that it is not difficult, but then again, like, I'm talking from I'm not my experience, but from what I've observed as a secondary kind of a source, it'll have much more conviction if a person who has gone through it and successfully kind of emerged, if she or he can be asked this, I think it'll help convince many of the people who are in that fence, who are not able to decide whether this is an option because of this factor. Again, like marriage, again there are different ways of looking at things. For some, it is a huge thing, which is a overriding kind of a factor. But for some, for many it is actually one of the many important factors. It may not be the overriding kind of a factor which goes into making the decision.
Now, IFS officers marrying another IFS officer, especially for a female officer, I'm talking. Another is, yes, they can also marry someone else who is not necessarily in service, but can marry someone else also. And there are there is a scope for getting some gainful employment in whichever place they are posted. Am I right?
Yes, you are right. Actually, in most of the cases, what we have seen, yes, the marriage happens within the service, or a marriage happens with, like, kind of a professional, like, he may be an engineer, he may be a doctor, or like he may be any other professional. Most of the things what I have seen is that. But there are also cases I have personally seen, very successful marriage, very successful couple, where like one of the officer is a foreign service officer, one of the couple, one of the person is a diplomat. The other one is a government servant within India. It may, in two cases I have seen defense officers, like Air Force officer and army officer, like marrying women, Indian, foreign service officers, and people marrying people from other services like IAS also. It goes again. It depends finally on the kind of a rapport between the two personalities who are involved in that marriage, that engagement. How they are able to look at it and make that as success. There is no hard and fast rule, but then again, if you look at it functionally, it helps if both the people are from the foreign service. It is easy. They can go on a posting together. They can go back to headquarters together, or they can go on some secondment together. So that opportunity is more for them if you look at it functionally. But then again, like, there are people, extraordinarily successful couple who, have nothing in common like this. They come from different backgrounds. They come from different services, but still, like, have such a beautiful kind of a married life. So it is not a overriding factor that it has to be like, from within the services or from within certain backgrounds, but it does help. Frankly, it does help. Now, functionally, if you look at it, if they are from the same services, it does help a lot.
Now, when an IAS, IPS, or forest service, amongst these three services, all India services, when they marry, if the spouses are from two different services or same all India service, even though if they are from other states, their cadre is other states, they try to find a common state. Is there any such provision? Say one IFS officer is marrying one IAS or IPS officer or IRS officer. Now, how they together can get posted?
I think in certain large missions where there are like, posts that are occupied by officers from other services, there is an opportunity that people, let's say from IAS or like, other services, like even audit service or Indian Revenue Service, people can go together and they can serve the time together in a mission abroad. In India, it is like any other service. When an officer is in MEA headquarters in Delhi, then obviously any other service person works in Delhi during the same time. They can plan to do that stint together in such a way that they maximize the time together in a single station. But outside India, it is limited to limited number of missions, which are large missions. Let's say, for example, very big missions like, Washington, Moscow, London, or some in Gulf, where Paris and all, Brussels, where there are large missions with a large number of posts that are manned by officers from other services where there is an opportunity. But in most of the missions, it may not be available, unfortunately.
Okay. Now, one unmarried IFS officer, uh, male or female, posted, say in Russia or Saudi, suddenly loses or something, falls in love with one local person. Is it now whether they have to get the permission of the government of India to marry such a person, outsider?
It is always required. Earlier, I mean, there was this situation where, I mean, at one stage they were not allowed, and later it was allowed, but like, you know, the conditions, the, you know, usual things were so difficult that, like, you know, very rarely kind of things happened. But now it is not uncommon to see such marriage in every batch. I mean, you will see even, like, you know, two, three in a batch also. In our
Okay,
batch,
so
you
then my
know,
question is a relevant question
yeah,
only.
yeah,
Okay.
it is very relevant. And
Hmm.
see, officers are young when they go abroad, particularly for their foreign posting. And if they are unmarried, and like, you know, when they go as student, when they go to universities, colleges, study, you tend to meet a lot of people. Sometimes, like, you know, I mean, as we know that, like, you know, I mean, it attracts, like, you know, I mean, you see a new culture, a new kind of a people, you know, new way of life. You tend to get attracted, so naturally sometimes, like, you know, it leads to that stage where you want to take that, you know, next leap in life. So ministry is considerate in most of the cases, and people do get married. But obviously, I mean, you need to intimate the government, the ministry, and take permission. But it is generally given.